Unfortunately, the Opie and Anthony show is over. Fortunately, we have a hard time letting go. The stories behind the stories. The backstage drama. Everything that made today unforgettable. Call 866-WOW-1-WOW now. And look back on another legendary day of broadcasting. This is the Opie and Anthony Post Show with Sam Roberts.
Yes, it is. Welcome to the Post Show. Call up now, 866-WOW-1-WOW, 866-969-1969, and be a part of the Opie and Anthony Post Show with me, Sam Roberts, taking your phone calls on everything that went down today. Of course, any memories of Otto and George, favorite moments, things you want to reflect on, feel free to share. Taking lots of calls. 866-WOW-1-WOW, 866-969-1969 to call in. We found out earlier today that this morning while the show was on that our friend Otto from Otto and George passed away within the last couple days. I don't know if we know exactly what day it was, but we just found out this morning while the show was on. So most of the second half of the show was spent kind of reflecting on his life and his, specifically his experience with the show. We'll get into that in a minute, but first, why don't we play Line of the Day, Sal?
Here comes Line of the Day, Line of the Day.
Getting in our way, so when we have anything new, we'll get it.
No doubt about it.
Fuck her right in the pussy.
Absolutely.
He felt compelled to yell.
Absolutely.
Fuck her right in her.
Whoever that guy is, just one Line of the Day. So congratulations to that guy who, for somebody from Minnesota. If you haven't seen that video, we posted it on our Twitter and Facebook pages, which is at O&A Show. I guess the Minnesota's college hockey team lost the NCAA hockey championships over the weekend and completely destroyed this announcer's live shot that he was doing for the news. So it's a really, really funny video if you haven't checked it out. But, I mean, the news of the day certainly was finding out that Otto from Otto and George has passed away. Now, we don't know how it happened. I believe we know that he apparently died in his sleep. But he was a part of the O&A show for years and years, back to the WNEW days. I mean, easily 10 to 12 years he's been doing the O&A show. And, I mean, you heard, if you were listening to the end of the show, you heard his set on Letterman. And, I mean, even as filthy a comedian as Otto was, even on Letterman, he's able to pull off a set like that, which was hilarious. All of us, the mics were off, but all of us in the studio were laughing. He was, of course, part of the traveling virus tour that we did for a couple years. And that's the thing. He was able to pull off doing a set on Letterman, as well as going in front of an audience that really, when it boiled down to it, the reason that they stopped, Opie and Anthony stopped doing the traveling virus tour was because the audience was simply out for blood. I mean, they would go out of their way to make life tough for the comedians on stage, and Otto would just constantly have them in the palm of his hand. Such an interesting guy, too. Do we have an Otto and George clip to start, Sal?
Yeah, do you want that gonorrhea clip that they were talking about?
Yeah, we were talking about the gonorrhea clip a little earlier. Let's hear that.
I almost wish I was gay, because Pat on his hands and knees, I would love to rape him.
Yeah.
But is he doing pretty good?
Yeah, pretty good.
Gentle?
Yeah. Very nice.
Did you have a cheeseburger for dinner last night?
Yeah.
I was doing that.
Why?
I was just going to say, but no.
Oh, that must have been me. Oh, I burped.
I was like, no, I had no cheeseburgers. Thank you.
He's got to be the happy clown always.
I know.
It's like Tord Johnson bobbing for gonorrhea.
Hey, I have no gonorrhea. Don't give me a complex.
What?
Fucking Otto. Oh, no.
Yeah, don't give her a simplex.
We don't even have to, we don't even have to bother later. Yeah. We don't even have to bother later. Holy shit. Does that conjure an image? Pat, how's it going?
It's going great.
And that's what it would be. Like one of those spots. That was Pat from Moonaki performing oral sex on a woman, I believe. This was way back when we were on 57th Street and there were no bosses around to tell us that was completely against the rules. But that's kind of a tough spot for a comedian to be in because generally not a lot is going to be able to take away from the attention to what's going on in the room. But Otto was he was a sniper with his lines. I think he might have been, him and Dave Attell are probably the two best one-line artists to come into the Opie and Anthony studio, maybe ever. Intern Adrian, you Otto and George fan?
Yes.
Well, do you remember your first exposure?
With this show, yeah. Listen to some of the older clips.
Yeah.
Especially the one a lot of callers brought up between him and Jay Moore.
Yeah.
The Yoo-hoo.
Yeah, and they argue about that, but then, like, it kind of, because it's such a ridiculous premise, like, they were arguing over who compared Yoo-hoo to diarrhea first.
Yeah.
But then it leads you to listening to the actual joke, and you're like, holy shit, there's something about when Otto does this. It's an art.
Yeah, he was great.
You know? Let's go to Brady in Louisiana. What's up, Brady?
Hey, I wanted to reflect on my first experience with Otto and George. It was 7th grade, back when XM, before Sirius and XM merged, and it was on the old Comedy Channel. I forget what the name of it was. And it was me, my mom, and my dad in the car, and Otto and George came on. And all of a sudden, they just started telling cunt jokes out of nowhere. And so Dad and I are just howling, and we listened to this for about a minute and a half where Mom makes us turn it off, and I was laughing for like 5 minutes after that. And then came on your guys' show, and it's really my first venture in the truly filthy comedy. And I wanted to thank him for that.
And isn't it an amazing thing that somebody, because Otto was among the filthiest comics anywhere, and that somebody who has taken as much heat as he has for being filthy is bringing a father and a son together. I mean, I don't know what that says about you and your dad, but you guys are bonding over all these C-bombs.
Yeah, it was a great family moment. All right, push now.
All right, thanks, Brady. Eric in New York.
Yeah, hi, Sam. Just so sad to hear him go. I mean, every time I hear of Otto and George, it just brings me back my reference point to the Mujan commercial on WNEW for the Unmasked. Would Opie and Anthony mind if I bring Lady Di as a date?
Yeah, I think they probably would mind, but I mean, if you have an extra ticket, what can we do?
Yeah, I guess I would like to use it.
I mean, they'd probably be upset about that.
Okay, then I won't upset him.
All right, I'll talk to you later. I'll see you. I'll see you on Thursday at Unmasked.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye. Jay in Nyack.
Oh, professional broadcaster Sam Roberts. It's an honor to be on your show, my friend.
Well, thank you.
I share a lot of the same passion as you do with wrestling and WWE, and I couldn't believe when I turned the radio on and heard about Otto. I don't have any really great funny stories, unfortunately, other than the fact that he made me laugh every time he was on your show or on ONA.
Yeah.
And it's just like. I remember he was supposed to be on a couple of months ago or something, and he didn't show up, and you guys were like, we can't reach him, and I had a bad feeling right then because I know he had issues in the past, and I just hope and pray wherever he is now he's happy and he rests in peace, and just lots of love and appreciation to him and his family and to the whole Otto and George family of comedians, and I'm sure Jimmy Norton is got to be that's a shout out to Jim Norton if I could.
Yeah.
I missed his advice show. Awesome. And I wish I had more to add to that today. Right?
No, that's good. Thanks, Jay.
Shock, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. And that's the thing that he was guaranteed that he was gonna slaughter every time he came on the O&A show. Like, it wasn't about, the long form bits. It was whatever was going on in the studio that day would just be peppered in by some of the most disgusting, wittiest one-liners anywhere. Let's go to Bello in Staten Island.
Hey, Sammy. I was just thinking the first time I saw him was probably 30 years ago in a bar in Staten Island. And everyone was drunk and everything. But like you said, he just took control, and it was amazing.
And that's it. Like, you're at a bar in Staten Island. I'm sure everybody's drinking. It's just the worst crowd to perform in front of, and he would just grab you.
Yes, and he said that joke, what do you call 4 Puerto Ricans in quicksand? Cuatro Cinco. I'll never forget that. Loved it. And I love you, Sammy. Thanks, bro.
Thank you, Bello. 866-WOW-1-WOW, 866-969-1969 if you want to call up the post show and talk a little bit about Otto. Because the other thing about it is, and he was the nicest guy that you'll ever meet. I mean, when I was doing my Sunday show live, he came up one Sunday and said, Sam, I want to come up and do your show. And I said, of course. And we got to talking, and past all his act, he was one of the most interesting people that you'll ever encounter just because of his life experiences. Like, this was a guy who, from the time he was a kid, was performing on the streets of New York. Like, he was doing his ventriloquist act as a teenager on the sidewalk in New York City, back when New York City was like real New York City, like Taxi Driver New York City. I mean, he's got stories about being approached by John Lennon. He performed for John Lennon on the street. David Copperfield, the magician in Vegas, was such a big Otto and George fan that he has one of the original George puppets in his private collection. That's true. I mean, it's amazing the amount of lives that this guy touched. What's the next Otto bit that we want to play for the folks, Sal?
We have Otto on Jeff Dunham.
Yeah. Let's hear that, because, obviously there are not a lot of successful ventriloquist acts, so we have, Otto talking about Jeff.
Like, every radio show I've ever done, they always try and goat me into bad-mouthing Jeff Dunham. I have nothing against the guy. I mean, to me, he's more of like a Jim Henson than what I do. I have the one character that's a domineering character. He's got 1,000 little creatures. And they always try and, get me to bash the guy. I have nothing,
that fucking
positive.
rich guy.
Yeah, I mean...
That successful guy.
He's an interesting guy. We've had him on. He's
a wonderful entertainer.
He's cool, Todd.
I have a great Dunham story. I was playing in Vegas years ago at the Riviera and was working for Steve Sharippa, Bobby Bacala from The Sopranos. So I play in the comedy room, which is like a 300-seat room. And Dunham, he booked Dunham the same week as me in the big room where Dean Martin used to play. And all I see is Dunham's picture all over the fucking casino in the elevators. And normally when I arrived at the hotel, I'd see my picture within 5 minutes of walking in the hotel. So I called up Sharif, and he's a scary guy to talk to. Every conversation he says, I'll bury you in the desert if you don't do the full time. That's how he talks to you. He's a big, intimidating guy. I can see why they hired him for that role. And so I called him up, pretty much screaming at him. I go, why is Dunham here the same week as me? Why is there 2 ventriloquists? Why is his picture everywhere? He goes, are you giving me shit? And he goes, you're funny and he's not. If you give me any more shit, I'll kick everybody out of this fucking hotel and put puppets in every room. And then we immediately, both of us just cracked up at the absurdity of that statement. I'll put puppets in every room. And then he just started laughing at just it was so absurd.
Fucking crazy.
I couldn't believe I screamed at him, though.
Yeah,
good for you, man.
Yeah,
because that's a weird booking to have both you guys.
I didn't get it.
Did you have people show up? Kind of dumb.
Yeah, I had a normal. The Penn Jillette always brings 50 people to see me. And then Dunham came, and he was groveling and kissing my ass.
Oh, wow.
It was great. He was a really nice guy.
That's we didn't have to stop mid-word, but that's the other thing. I mean, you just heard Penn Jillette goes and brings 50. I mean, Penn Jillette, who does the show all the time. Maybe we'll try to get him on the phone or something tomorrow, because I'd love to hear his reflections. Penn adores Otto. I mean, he has come on this show so many times and talk about the affection that he has for Otto. And I know that last caller, or a couple callers ago, had said that they had heard that he had problems or whatever. But as far as any of us know here at the show, he was in good health. You know, Otto has had somewhat of a history with some substances or whatever. But as far as any of us know, and Bob Levy was on the show today to talk about it a little bit, he was not using. He had health problems about a year ago. He was stuck in Canada and he was hospitalized. But he had recovered from that and he had been on the show since then and he seemed healthy and everything. So, I just don't want anybody to jump to conclusions as to what caused the death of Otto, which is what we're talking about today. But again, if you have anything you want to add to the conversation, call up 866-WOW1-WOW, 866-969-1969. And we have one more clip that we want to play before we run out of time. Is that right, Sal?
Yes, it's Lady Palm's Otto in the head.
Of course.
One of my favorite things, we did a gig in Delaware. Yeah. It was a giant fucking, this is many years ago, a giant room, like a big bar. And afterwards, I was out there, and Otto killed, and I had a great set. And there was a girl that walked up to me, and she didn't know Otto was the ventriloquist because he didn't have George with him in the parking lot. And everyone focuses on George. So she goes, "You were really funny." And she goes, "I liked you more than the last guy." And he was really funny, but he was more of a guy's comic. Like, she did enjoy you, but you know, you're very harsh for a young fucking girl. Yeah. And her head was not shaped good.
Oh, shit.
She had a really bad hairline.
Yeah. Oh.
And
oh, no.
And she said, when she said like he was a good comic, but more of a guy's comic, Otto said, "Yeah, well, you're really pretty, except for your forehead, it's too big." And she was so hurt, she took her palm and she palmed Otto in the forehead.
Holy shit. Wow, she must have been upset.
Dude, it was so uncomfortable and fucking great.
Good.
Fuck
she
her.
palmed Otto.
Did you like that?
It's one of my
said the worst thing to say.
Dude, I remember that exchange in the parking lot like it happened 4 minutes ago.
That's hilarious.
What did you laugh at more? Me getting hit or her?
The whole thing of it was the fact that you went her making an offhanded remark. You went right for the Achilles.
Yeah.
You sliced her Achilles, and because you said forehead, she just palmed your forehead. She didn't know how to handle.
Didn't know how to react to it.
It was everything that she's ever been afraid a guy would say to her.
Right.
No guy has ever said that. Like, they've all talked to her and looked up at her fucking bad hairline, but she sees the eyes go up, but she's never actually had a guy say it to her.
Wow.
Except for your forehead,
man.
it's too big.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, in hindsight, she did try and spare my feelings by saying I'm a guy comic and all that.
She didn't know it was you at first for a second, but she really was. She was saying that sincerely.
Yeah.
She just thought you were harsh but funny.
God, I'm a vindictive, vicious asshole.
She'll learn.
Hydrocephalus head.
She'll learn next time to fucking think before she speaks. You taught her a lesson.
This is what makes Otto like the comedian's favorite comedian, because he goes and gets smacked in his head in the parking lot and he talks about what a funny story it was. There are a lot of people who would not enjoy repeating the fact that one of the audience members was so upset by what they said that they had to physically assault them, but Otto was a real comedian. Chris in Jersey.
Hey, I was just wondering if you think that Nancy Grace believes that it was steroids that killed Otto.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that miserable person decided to launch an investigation into the deaths of comedians, as many as we've had recently. Well, again, I think Jim Florentine is going to be on the show tomorrow. So I'm sure we'll talk more about it then. Hopefully we'll get some more information, because I know when stuff like this happens, especially with somebody, I guess people listen to this show regularly and religiously, and they kind of you feel close to the people that you hear on Opie and Anthony. So everybody's going to want to know what happened with Otto, and we'll get that information to you as soon as humanly possible. Shane in New York.
Hey, what's up, Sam? I was on your show with Otto. You brought me in and just as a friend. That guy was one of the best fucking guys. I'm just beside myself right now, man.
I mean, and that's what I don't want people to lose is because he was such a brutal comic that like he's one of the sweetest guys that ever walked into the studio.
Absolutely. I mean, for him to bring me on, I mean, because he liked the way I just told a story. I'm sorry. I'm repeating myself. I'm freaking out, brother.
Yeah, well, good luck, man. It's tough. Joe in Jersey.
Hey, what's up, Sam?
How you doing, buddy?
One of the best stories about Otto with the John Lennon thing is what had happened was he was, performing, and John Lennon's there with Yoko, and he's doing his bit, and then John Lennon walks up to him and gives him $2.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Here, $1.50 for the puppet and 50 cents for you because you didn't do that much." And the best part of it is that, and then as Lennon goes by, Lennon gives him an elbow. You know how, like, with your pals, you give a little boom, he gives Otto, like, a shove, and we were talking about it one day. I'm like, Otto, man, what are you, a pussy? Why'd you let him do that? He's like, dude, he was a fucking Beatle.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? If he was one of the monkeys, it would have been go time. And, it's a really horrific day for, for us, who were really tight with him, and we're still trying to, we're just still trying to come to grips with it. But he's got so many great stories, dude. Just so many hilarious and interesting things. Hanging out with Belushi one night. I mean, he's just got so many great things, and he's so fascinating because one night we were doing a show somewhere, and some guy sitting at a bar, and everybody's looking at the guy, and we all recognize the guy somewhere, and it was the guy who was in Superman 2, one of the three villains. You know the three villains? But
of course.
Right? It was the one that didn't speak, so we're all sitting there going, and all of a sudden Otto's like, I know you. You're Jack O'Halloran from My Queen Fair Lady, some movie from like 1963. I'm like, who recognizes him from that?
Yeah, how would you know that?
How do you know that?
I gotta let you go, Joe, but we're running out of time. But appreciate the call, dude.
You got it, Sam.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Good luck. And I see all the rest of you on hold right now. I wish I could get to you, but I don't have time. But yeah, so we'll get you more information as it comes. Sal, can you put the bet on so I can organically go into a commercial after talking about the memory of one of our great friends, Otto?